Hey, Guitar Nerd is here with what I consider to be the top 25 tips for Resident Evil 4. I've ranked these tips by importance as well as how new the information is for new and returning players, so let's dive right in. Starting with number 1 is to avoid breaking your combat knife. That's right, your combat knife now has a durability meter, and if you use your knife too much, it will break, which will prevent you from using it until it's repaired by the merchant, so be sure to leave some durability left for those times where you accidentally get grabbed by enemies to help avoid taking additional damage. I would also recommend using any other knives you pick up first so you can reserve your combat knife for later if needed, and it is definitely worth fully upgrading the durability and damage on it as soon as possible to get that much more ammo and health item savings early on. Tip number 2 is to parry attacks. You heard that correctly. You can now parry attacks in Resident Evil 4, including ranged attacks like thrown weapons. This is a great way to help prevent damage and save yourself healing items, so if you need some practice, just keep an eye on the bottom right corner to know when to time it correctly. Thankfully, getting normal parries are not too difficult to pull off, but if you time it down to the wire, you can actually do a perfect parry that will potentially cause some damage to the enemy and make them vulnerable to a follow-up melee attack. Number 3 is to do your merchant quests. Aside from shooting the blue medallions that were a part of the original game, there are numerous other quests that can be done, such as destroying these dolls or killing some rats in certain areas, and they all give you spinels as rewards to trade in for valuable items, such as the Punisher pistol or the laser attachment, so marking these chores off the list can be well worth it. Coming in at number 4 is completing the merchant shooting ranges. And this is no longer just for fun or for obtaining collectible items. Scoring enough points within the shooting galleries will now reward you with silver and gold tokens. These can be traded in for charms that you can equip to your briefcase to apply additional buffs throughout your playthrough, and you can equip up to 3 different charms, so it's definitely at least worth giving a shot. Number 5. Customize your case. There's not much point in getting charms or trading in spinels for different cases if you aren't going to use them, so be sure to change them out frequently by visiting the typewriter to get the most out of crafting resources as well as merchant transactions and other rewards. Number 6 is to utilize tripwires. And not just like the same way you could with the original game, you can now defuse tripwires rather than having to shoot them, but you can still shoot the bomb on the tripwires after defusing it, so be sure to take advantage of it when you can. Likewise, although you can still set off bear traps by shooting them or using your knife, you cannot reopen bear traps at all, so why not leave them open instead now that enemies can get caught in them as well. Another new feature with the remake is that you can now use the bolt thrower early on to save ammo by reusing your bolts after firing it. This is also a great way to silently kill crows without causing any others to fly off before you have a chance to shoot them, and there's also the attachable mines you can use with it for harder fights too, of course. Tip number 9. Repair your body armor. Although you won't get access to this until Chapter 8, it can definitely save you from having to use as many health items once you do have it. It can cost a little to repair, but I'd still recommend repairing it at least for boss fights or when you're low on health items. Once you get in the castle area, you might be thinking, why waste my money getting the broken butterfly magnum when I can still get it for free from the same old location as the original game? Well, you can't. No freebies here, just a small loot reward instead now, so don't hold off on buying it if you think you'll get it for free. So you may as well go ahead and get it to at least help with the harder fights. Number 11 is using melee attacks to conserve ammo. And while this may not be new in itself to the Resident Evil series, this remake has a new melee finisher move that uses your knife rather than doing a curb stomp. So although you won't be able to abuse it given your knife's limited durability, you can still perform this attack frequently when enemies hit the ground, which still makes it a practical choice instead of using more ammo. Just like the original game, you can aim for the head or kneecaps to stun enemies to make them vulnerable to melee attacks that cause them to get knocked down to the ground. But here you can now use the melee finisher move with the knife to make sure they don't get back up. Otherwise, they may transform into their Las Plagas form and take even more ammo to kill. You can also use knife attacks to stun enemies this way, regardless of whether it is a quick slash or a stab, as long as you aim for their head. This finisher move can save even more ammo with the Las Plagas wolves. Just shoot them with one well-placed shotgun shell to get them on the ground, use your melee attack to finish them off, and you're good to go. But here's even more advanced melee tips. Once you stun an enemy, Give them 1 or 2 quick slashes before you melee them to ensure you can kill them even quicker. You can also immediately kill them with a knife melee from behind after stunning them too. And once you move to the castle, you'll be able to perform a wrestling suplex move from behind to kill them without even having to use your knife at all. And don't forget to duck to avoid getting grabbed by common enemies when they try reaching out to you. While it may not be the biggest change, you can now break crates without using your knife by simply using the interact button. However, you may still want to use a quick slash attack or two instead, just in case for all the sneaky snakes out there. Next up is to know your movement controls. And this isn't just referring to the quick 180 turn motion that most Resident Evil fans are already familiar with, but rather a reminder that you no longer need to hold down the run button to continue sprinting. It's a default setting now to just tap the button instead, so give it a shot and try not to let muscle memory kick in if holding it down is like second nature to you. Number 15. Listen for loot. That's right. If you've ever heard the same little metallic noise in the background from time to time, you're not going crazy. It's actually just a lantern thingy hanging around nearby which can be shot down to get some loot, so make sure you listen closely. The same could actually be said for crows too. If you hear them, avoid chasing them off and instead just hunt them down like we used to in the good old days with the original game. If you really want to make sure you get them all, just throw a grenade at them. Aside from breaking yellow crates and barrels, you can keep an eye out for bird nests as well for additional resources. And don't forget to shoot the plank holding the lid up on the wells first before shooting any dangling loot down. The water is dirty after all, so let's keep those pennants clean for the higher resale value. While we're talking about loot, make sure to avoid selling incomplete treasures that can still have jewels inserted into them to drastically increase their value. If you're not sure which treasures may be incomplete, just check the descriptions or examine it, and be sure to refer to this gemstone bonuses cheat sheet to figure out which jewel combinations will give you the most bang for your buck. And if you ever need assistance finding where all of these different jewels or treasures are, just buy a treasure map from the merchant and start scavenging. At number 20, we have conserve your inventory space. The easiest way to do this is to prioritize buying the briefcase upgrades from the merchant when it's available. Although it can delay having to worry about inventory management, you'll still end up with a full briefcase at some point. So don't forget to use crafting to free up some space when needed, and selling any outdated weapons can help too. But you can also just move any weapons to your storage at any point as well. Number 21. Conserve herbs when possible until you have a green, red, and yellow combo that you can use to permanently increase your full health. Until then, try to use first aid sprays, eggs, or other items to heal to ensure you can max out your health sooner rather than later. One tip some people may tend to forget about is remembering to only use your grenades when the time is right. If you use your grenades too much, then you might not have any left when it matters. Alternatively, if you don't use them at all, you might eat up a lot of your other resources when you don't need to. Obviously, you could use your frag or flash grenades when you're in a pinch against an entire mob, but you could also use flash grenades to instantly kill Las Plagas forms of enemies, which we all know can eat up additional ammo and healing items a lot of times. This one might be self-explanatory for returning fans, but if you don't know, you can still shoot any sticks of dynamite the enemy may be holding. So time it correctly and you may be able to take out a whole group. The same can be said for Molotovs, explosive barrels, or hanging lanterns too, of course. Number 24. Upgrade your weapons. Unless you want the extra challenge, then fine, be cheap. Just know that upgrading your weapons will cause their resale value to increase, and although you may not be able to sell it to cover the full cost of those upgrades, it can still at least be worth upgrading the damage on your weapons to allow you to save more ammo as the difficulty of the enemies continue to increase throughout your playthrough. And if you're not sure which weapons to upgrade first, then just compare the weapons you are interested in to see which one has the better stats once maxed out. And lastly, and some could argue most importantly, explore. Aside from just enjoying the game more from exploring, you'll find more loot and resources the more you backtrack and explore. Using the boat in Chapter 4 is a great example of that. Not only can you fish using harpoons, but you could also find multiple treasures, complete merchant contracts, and even find a new gun by fully exploring the lake with the boat. So don't feel like you have to rush through the game. Take it at your own pace and enjoy it. Well, that pretty much covers it. Those are the most up-to-date important tips for Resident Evil 4 that I can think of. But please feel free to share any other tips that I may have missed, and be sure to drop a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to follow along for more Resident Evil content like this. But until next time, happy gaming.